What if the self-anointed law and order lion who once roared about locking her up for a private email server suddenly found his own Secretary of War? Pete Hegseth, that Fox News frat boy fiasco with a fondness for fermented firewater and fascist fantasies, branded a war criminal by a bipartisan band of ex-JAG juggernauts for ordering a kill everybody strike that turned two clinging Caribbean survivors into chum with a second Hellfire hail. What if Donald J. Trump, that 79-year-old fraud factory whose very large brain now belches bad ideas like a busted slot machine in a bankrupt bazaar, discovered his lethal kinetic lexicon, coined by a man who wrote about ripping enemies' arms off and feeding them to hogs, was less America first and more Nuremberg's nightmare, with the JAG's November 29th fatwa unanimously ukasing war crimes, murder, or both for the no-quarter nightmare that nuked Geneva's gospel. And what if this high-seas heresy, scripted by a secretary whose sobriety's as suspect as his strategy, wasn't a rogue ripple but the rotten ripple effect of a regime that raised the military's moral moorings, firing JAG chiefs like faulty fuses and forging a fascist forge where double tap is doctrine and due process is dead? Envision the grotesque glee of it all. Trump, the draft-dodging dandy whose bone spurs were the only spurs he ever sported, now spurs his sidekick to savage the seas, turning the U.S. Navy into a narco-naval execution squad that executes the exhausted and executes the ethos of engagement, all while the JAG ghosts gasp at the gall of a strongman whose strength is as synthetic as his spray tan. Folks, this isn't command. It's carnage, a Sunday slaughter where the tough on terror tyrant's tantrums torch his throne, leaving a party in paranoid pieces and a nation navigating the nightmare of nukes in noodle arms. Time to eviscerate the emperor whose elastic empire of excuses stretches from fake news, flack, to felonious firestorms, dragging us all into the deep end of his dementia-drenched depravity. The Trinidad tempest that thrashed the turquoise on September 2nd, 2025, wasn't some nautical nuisance. It was a nautical Nuremberg, a high-seas heresy where the U.S. military's mighty machinery morphed into a merciless meat cleaver under the manic ministrations of Pete Hegseth, that Fox News frat boy fiasco whose primetime preening masked a penchant for pint-sized patriotism laced with pint-sized pores of prejudice. The Washington Post's whistleblower windfall on November 29th, sourced from 6 shell-shocked sentinels still shaking from the spectacle, sketched a scene straight from a sadist storyboard. A Reaper drone's remorseless retina roams the rumpled rollers off Trinidad's treacherous tip, zeroing in on a Dominican flag drifter laden with the lowlife lucre of Colombia's Clan del Golfo. A cartel cockroach convoy crawling with cocaine contraband bound for Baltimore's back alleys. Hegseth's hallowed, lethal kinetic, that Fox-forged flourish for fuck him up in 5 syllables, escalates to executive extermination as the Spec Ops spymaster snaps the signal. No quarter, every survivor. The first fusillade? A hellfire holocaust that hurls the hull to Hades. 11 aboard atomized in an instant of infernal incandescence. The wreckage a wretched raft of ribs and ropes bobbing like a bad buoy in bloody brine. But 2 tenacious tars, tenaciously tenured by tenacity, tenaciously tangle with the tide, survivors, surrendered by circumstance, their mission marooned in the merciless main, or to combat by Haig's hallowed handbook. Hegseth's hiss from the earring? Kill everybody. The second salvo, a savage sequel of shrapnel showers that shreds the stragglers, souls sundered in swells, their screams swallowed by the sea's silent scorn, a spectacle so sordid it scorches the scrolls of Geneva's grim gospel and the UCMJ's unyielding umbrage. Hegseth's heritage? A hangover of hubris, the primetime poser whose Pentagon perches on a pedestal of propaganda. Fox's weekend warrior who warbled about woke weakness while Whiskey Wild videos went viral. His 2015 St. Patrick's Day slosh fest with 2 blondes, a blonde bombshell that blonde blinded his blonde ambition until blonde ambition blonde blinded the blonde Senate. 50-50 with Vance's tiebreaker, a triumph of tolerance for tippling that tipped the scales toward tragedy. Confirmed May 2025 amid murmurs of mental problems and know something wrong with him that echoed like a diagnosis in denial. Hegseth's lethal lexicon. Coined in Caribbean capers killing 83 in 2 months. War crimes per brass who bolted like Holy's hasty hiatus. Hides a hollow heroism. The bone spur braggart's boy wonder whose fight, because we love what's behind us, rings ridiculous when behind us means boat bombings without body cams or bountiful bodies bobbing in the bay like buoys of barbarism. His 2024 book? A Barbaric Blueprint. What if we treated the enemy the way they treated us? Rip your arms off and feed them to hogs. Hogs. Hegseth's hogwash, a frat boy fantasy now federal felony. The no-quarter nightmare in Nuremberg gnawed in reverse, where the tribunal's ghosts gasp at the gall, the Hague's hallowed halls humming with his hypocrisy, the Jag's Jeremiad on November 29th, a jihad of jurisprudence that jettisons his jingoism into the junkyard of jurisprudence. The former Jag's fatwa, a fusillade from the front lines of law, a unanimous ukase from the working group of ex-Jag juggernauts. Stephen Lepper, Air Force Deputy Jag, a legal lion who leashed the Luftwaffe's legacy. Patrick Mlan, Marine Judge, federal firebrand whose courtroom claws carve careers. Rob Bracknell, Marine maven, whose manual for martial matters mentored majors. Todd Huntley, Navy captain. Georgetown Guardian whose gavel guided generations. Formed in February's fury after Hegseth's hatchet hacked the Army and Air Force JAG chiefs like cordwood for a campfire of cruelty. Their November 29th manifesto? A masterstroke of moral might. The giving and execution of these orders, if true, constitute war crimes, murder, or both. Had guardrails been in place, these crimes would have been prevented. Non-international armed conflict? Common Article 3's clarion call cascades. Persons taking no active part in hostilities shall be treated humanely. Violence to life, murder, cruel treatment, outrages upon personal dignity, executions without judgment prohibited. The second strike a savage sequel to the first, survivors rendered or to combat, rendered roadkill by rogue rockets that roar rebellion against the rulebook. Law Enforcement Op. 18 U.S.C. Section 2441's War Crimes Wickets all. Grave breaches of CA. 3. A prosecutable plague. From Hegseth's helm to the Hellfire's hammer. Nuremberg's superior orders no defense, a specter stalking the seals who saluted savagery. RCM 916. D. The rope that ropes the rope-a-dope. Superior orders no defense to patently illegal acts. The kill survivors, a kindergarten-level crime screaming stop in scarlet letters. AP2's Article 4. Wounded and shipwrecked, respected and protected. The U.S. signatory since 77 but Senate stalled. Reagan's 87 nudge now a nudge to nadir. Hegseth's hogs a hogwash homage to Hague horrors that horrify the hallowed. UCMJ Article 118. Unlawful killing with malice. Murder's mallet-mashing military malfeasance. The manuals mandate a manifesto for mutiny against the maniac. The JAG's Jihad. A call to Congress for commissions, to citizens for courage. Oppose intentional targeting. Military duty, disobey patently illegal orders. Emotional eruption. Not legalese, laceration. Veterans vilified for valor. Families felled fascist feints. Slotkin's shattered sanctuary, sobering soundtrack systemic sadism. Beckham's bloody bookmark bungled borders. Caribbean chum bucket cruelty. Survivors shred of humanity, shredded shrapnel shadow. Jag's Jeremiad a Jeremiad for justice in jeopardy. Harry Litman, ex-U.S. attorney main DOJ maestro talking feds trinity. YouTube, podcast, Substack. Flynn's Trump's legal Leviathan forensic finesse, filleting fire. Litman, courtroom courier D.C. Richmond, beheld bedlam. 85% solid vindictive prosecution. Issue ignited. Nachmanoff nabbing Halligan podium. Fessed up. Rejected 3 count. Lopped 1. Renumbered. Xeroxed. 4-person flurry 7 minutes. No grand jury gaze. Gallery gawked. Geologic gasp gobsmacked gazers. Flub flowered. No new conclave. 12-juror quorum. Desk drawer diktat defying Rule 6 red light runner rally. Lippman's Lansing? Single worst thing Department Justice ever done. Flabbergasting. Correction? Contumely con. Four-person Fall Guy felony folly. Memos mendacity monument missing mark. Operative indictment orphaned oversight. Enterprise empty envelope executive excess. Irony venomous vortex. Vortexing trumps. Revenge. Reverie abysm. Boss bounced Comey disloyalty drips. Now drips legal ledger domain. DOJ demeaned desk job decree grand juries gamed golf grips. Halligan. Handmaiden Harry adversaries Comey. Canned Russia rummage. James. Indicting issue. Nuzzle's disqualification deliverance. Bar license bloodletting damned. Bondi. AG alchemist ratifying rubbish rescue. Ratchet's requital. Stand behind this. Scrolls co-conspiracy constitutional crucifixion. Trump's thumbprint. Smeared Sharpie. Cases cradle oval obsessions. Halligan's hit higher. Bondi's backstop benedictions. Emotional elegy. Farce Fisher's faith. Republic's ribs riven retaliatory ribs Comey. Straight arrow sentinel stared Trump's tantrums. Bogey bravery. Four-person's frantic flourish. Mockery 23 citizens civic sacrament. Nixed 3-count Clarion 2-count trickery. Fitzpatrick's 11 flaws fester untreated ulcers. Tainted testimony treading privilege poison. Halligan's hallucinogenic homilies burden fifth. Miranda mirage maga mist. Procedural perversions parading process. Correction. Contempt cascade. Culputting bystander blizzard. Memos mendacity monument missing mark. Operative indictment orphaned oversight. Enterprise empty envelope executive excess. Grand jury phantoms. Virginians volunteered vigilance. Haunt hearing. Nixed 3-count Clarion 2-count trickery. Trump's specter stalk shadows. Lock him up. Litany's laughingstock locks loose in Comey's liberation. Rot radiates. Trump's DOJ dagger despotism. Halligan hilt. Bondi hand. Grand jury gutted guardian. Vindictive? Vindicated vendettas vain. Oval tweets interim install. Disqualification? Destiny. Senate sidestep sham. Dismissal prejudice? Dogma. Fifth's fortress fortified Fitzpatrick's frontier. Barbarbs. Brewing. Halligan's license lit fuse. Bondi's benedictions? Boomerang. AG Aegis armor arrows accountability. Satirical supreme. Law lord. Lawyered 91 felonies fog now fogs felonies form. Cut and paste cabal conjuring charges clerical chaos. Deep state delirium dines devotees. Halligan hors d'oeuvre banquet bungle. Tide turns. 2026 midterms mobilize masses. Democrats 9-point turnout torrent Trump's tyranny. Grand jury grievance endures. Justice deferred devours defer.